What's happening, everybody? I'm Todd Tanner. This is Wrestling News Now. As I said earlier when I was talking about Brittany Griner, this is part 2, the untold truth of Brittany Griner. So, did you know that Brittany was the only player on the U.S. National Olympics finalists still in college? What a feat for an individual to achieve. While only in college, Brittany Griner was among the 21 finalists for the 2012 U.S. Women's Olympic basketball team per USA Basketball. This is a recap. To put it in perspective, a collegiate athlete or a college athlete hadn't been chosen for the women's team since 1988. The honor was all the more impressive considering the company she was in. The other finalists were Olympic gold medalists, WNBA champions, and winners of international championships from the European League. They all had a massive load of experience, definitely more than young Griner. But she never made it to the 2012 Olympics. She released a statement and declined the offer to go to London, citing school obligations and an illness in the family. She said she was disappointed about the lost opportunity, but hoped to make the team in the future per the AP or Associated Press via Bleacher Report. As it was, many believe that a spot on the team would have been given to her if she agreed. Coach Gino Ariamaya initially announced, I know I messed that up, only 11 of the 12 spots, and analysts assumed he was holding out that Griner would consent to join. He went on the record saying that he was a big fan of Griner's and believed she would increase their chances of winning per AP via ESPN. Brittany Griner doesn't just hold the records for dunks in the WNBA. She set a record in just her debut for the league. In her first game for the Phoenix Mercury against the Chicago Sky in 2013, her 2 dunks in a single game made her the first player in WNBA history to do so. Reports the Huffington Post, at the time, there were only 3 dunks made in regular season history, and Griner immediately added 2 for the books. And the dunks kept on coming by the 2021 playoffs. Griner had 23 career dunks, 17 occurred in the regular season per ESPN. To put it in perspective, the league had only 7 players dunk in its entirety history per Insider. To account for most of the WNBA's dunking record is pretty monumental, and Griner thought so too, calling it a pretty monumental feat to be the leader via ESPN. Interestingly, however, the most dunks she's ever made came during the 2021 season, the most recent season she's played for the league. Why? She's afraid of getting too old. Once she turned 30, Griner was afraid that her physical abilities would start to slow down. So since you only live once, Griner has made it her mission to pump up her tally. Of course, it doesn't hurt to show the world that women can dunk, which Griner believes is very important. In May 2015, Griner and her then wife, Gloria Johnson, were suspended from the WNBA as a result of a domestic violence issue per the New York Times. A month before, Griner and Johnson were arrested in their home in Phoenix, Arizona, and were charged with disorderly conduct. Johnson's sister called the police after the couple's verbal fight became physical, and the two were unable to be separated per the New York Times. Although they didn't need only immediate medical attention, Griner received a bite wound on her finger, and Johnson was later found to have a concussion. Griner said the altercation came as a result of all the pressure bearing down on her and Johnson. They were beginning a new life together, having just bought a house, and were only a month away from their wedding. Griner eventually pleaded guilty and was ordered to complete a 26-week of domestic violence counseling. They were both suspended 17 games, the longest suspension of WNBA history. Many athletes voiced concerns about the national anthem and the Black Lives Matter protest in 2020, and Brittany Griner was among them. As AZ Central details, during the season opener, Griner's team was absent from the floor while the national anthem played in honor of the late Breonna Taylor, and Griner said she would keep the pattern going for all games. During the teleconference, she went even further and said that the national anthem shouldn't be played at all for WNBA games. Pardon me. In order to bring attention to police brutality. She tempered her comments, noting that she takes pride in her country and respects the men and women who protect it. That's the speaker going haywire above me, even going so far as to note her father was a Vietnam veteran and an officer for 30 years, and Griner herself wanted to be a policewoman as a child. Griner explored other ways to remember Taylor, who was killed by police during a raid of her home in 2020. During that season, Griner wore Taylor's name on the back of her jersey, according to AZ Central. That was in addition to her established reputation for political and social activism. Having raised money for COVID-19 relief funds in Arizona animal shelters, a Mercury guard, Diana Taurasi, called Griner a leading voice in social justice. Griner has even used her position to urge fans to vote. There's one sad detail underneath all the drama of Brittany Griner's arrest in Russia that sometimes gets forgotten. The reason why she was there in the first place. She wasn't a tourist visiting Lenin's Maoism or snowboarding the Red Valley. Instead, Griner was in Russia because she received a better salary there than in the WNBA. As a player for the UMMC Ekaterinburg, Griner received more than $1 million a season. In comparison, Griner earned $221,450 for the 2021-2022 WNBA season, according to Fox Business. Now, a side note. This impartiality here that continuously happens in sports for women, it's got to stop. Part 3 to be continued. For Wrestling News Now, I'm Todd Tanner.